comments yesterday from Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. After the Bengals missed the playoffs for the third straight year, they revamped their roster on defense, and the quarterback has taken notice. Burrow, who expressed his frustrations at times last year, now sounds very confident about his team moving forward. Listen to this.
I think this is the most talented roster that we've had since I've been here. We have everything we need in that locker room. We just got to go and make it happen.
Talk about the idea of trying to elevate the Bengals onto a bigger platform. Do you think that the Bengals are in a better spot now than they were years ago, and how much more work is there to go in that?
Definitely. I think the number one thing is you have to win. And we're going to go win a lot of games this year and play great and win a Super Bowl. And everything that comes with that comes with that.
Wow, a young brash fella named Joe says we're going to win the Super Bowl. Where have I heard that before?
Yeah.
What did you make of those comments from Burrow yesterday? Most talented team he's had, he thinks, since he's been there.
And that's fine. I don't make much of it. I mean, this is the time of year where everybody sort of overrates themselves, and all the skies are, blue and fluffy clouds. Burrow's got, look, with that pair of receivers, we know Burrow, they can put up numbers, and I mean touchdowns. And they improve the defense with draft picks in the first and third round, guys who are likely to start.
Right.
And they have to contribute immediately. Greeny. So they're going to be better on defense. They're also in the division with Baltimore, which has a whole lot to prove. And Lamar Jackson coming off this subpar season where they weren't even a factor. So, I don't know that I'm listening to Joe Burrow proclaim how great they are as, I'm going to put them above Buffalo in the AFC?
Yeah.
No. Am I going to put them above Baltimore in their own division? No. Above New England? No. I don't know that I'm going to have them above the Chargers. So there's a long way to go, and this proclamation sounds nice. It reminds me of, I'm going to go historical for a second. It reminds me of Dan Marino.
Okay.
Who had some great seasons, and there was a lot of talent, and he got there once. Joe Burrow's been once, like Ken Anderson in Cincinnati went once, like Boomer Esiason in Cincinnati went once. There's no sort of history of the Bengals being so loaded that we're going to make them prohibitive favorites, even in their own division. Don't see it.
The other piece of this that I think is interesting is there's what Burrow thinks, and then there's what Burrow thinks. You've heard the same whispers I have. I'm not even sure they're whispers at this point. He seemed so frustrated late last year. The idea, and I've heard Shefty sort of talk around this, but more than he usually would be if he was just going to shut it down, that if things go sideways this year, that Joe Burrow
start glancing around
might start
other possibilities.
What do you think?
Of course, that would be the case if there's that level of frustration. First of all, you sort of put pressure on everyone else in the organization if you walk out there and say this is the best team we've had, the most talented team we've had. And now, so expectations have been raised. In Cincinnati, I'm sorry, I got to see it. I'm not extending benefit of the doubt. It's in fourth grade. There's no extra credit. Let's see this play out. I was asking you about the schedule for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that Pittsburgh's got Cincinnati and somebody else tough in the first 3 weeks. Cincinnati.
New England is the other team they have early. Cincinnati has a very favorable schedule. They only play 5 games against teams who made the playoffs last year. The Steelers twice, the Texans, the Jaguars, and the Panthers, who made the playoffs as a sub-500 team.
But there are 2 games against Baltimore, which aren't mentioned there, that certainly are going to be factors in that whole thing.
So you're confident the Ravens bounce back after what was a very disappointing year?
I don't know if I'm confident. I got to see Lamar Jackson go back to running away from people in jerseys that have 50s on them. He didn't do that.
Right.
Now, is that just the injuries sustained last year prevented him from being Lamar Jackson? Or have 7 years of taking shots worn him down? We saw this with Cam Newton. The number of years people exaggerate and say, he's going to be great for 12 to 15 years. No. There just aren't. Tom Brady's don't just grow on trees. They don't just walk around like that, especially guys who take as many shots as Lamar Jackson. And by the way, Burrow's had injuries.
Yes.
So very quickly the physical toll piles up, Greeny, and you got to see how this plays out before I accept any of these rosy prognostications.
And maybe the psychological toll, too. Okay, coming up. Dance for Aaron Rodgers, who met with reporters yesterday and confirmed this season in Pittsburgh will be his last. The 4-time MVP said Mike McCarthy's hiring had a big impact on his decision to return to Pittsburgh, especially after the departure of Mike Tomlin.
He said he was stepping away. That was emotional. moment just because we all love him so much and care about him. And, I thought that that was probably it for me in Pittsburgh. But when the decision was made to hire Mike, I started opening my mind back up to coming back. It was surreal, honestly, sitting in the meeting, the first 8 o'clock meeting on Monday. Took me back to being a 22-year-old kid sitting in Green Bay listening to Mike's first meeting in 2006. So it's fun. I mean, it's like a pinch me moments.
So he goes back sort of to where it all began for him with Mike McCarthy, and subsequently would say this season will be his last season in the NFL. Michael, I mean, you've been pretty, strong in your opinions on all of this. What was your number one? He talked about so many things yesterday. What were your biggest takeaways?
Well, there's a takeaway from the career, and there's a takeaway from all the overstatement about what he still means. The career is one of the great careers in NFL history. 4 MVPs.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know it only resulted in 1 Super Bowl championship, and we tend to just forget people the more years we go. It would be sad if we forget Aaron Rodgers in 10 years. People act like John Elway didn't play the game. And I hear, he's the great, pump the brakes. We don't need to exaggerate it. He had a great career that's going to result in the wearing of a gold jacket in the Hall of Fame, as should be. That's set aside. And now this notion that the Steelers and he are relevant to what? Not even in their own division. Aren't they going to be the 3rd team chosen in their own division behind Baltimore for sure, and likely Cincinnati? I'm not sure I'm buying that. But, okay, it's not relevant anymore. Not to there's 20 other storylines going into summer training camps that will be more important than Aaron Rodgers at this age. He is not LeBron James or playing up to that level. He's not Tom Brady. We don't need to overstate what he is now to appreciate what he has been for all these years.
That's fair. So you would be stunned. Again, they won the division last year, even though it kind of didn't feel like it.
It didn't matter.
The division sort of lost itself, and they managed to remain on top. You don't see any scenario where something crazy happens this year?
Well, there could be. There injuries we know in any. Last year, nobody had the Bears going from last to first. No one had that.
Right.
Okay? So, yes, Pittsburgh is capable of that. Do I expect that? No. And I said going into. Can Aaron Rodgers have that kind of year? Nothing at the end of the year, Greeny, suggested the way we saw him playing at that stage. That doesn't resemble the Aaron Rodgers we saw for the first 15 years in no way, shape, or form. And the Steelers have that kind of roster that they can just plug him in and have him as a B- C+ quarterback and win what? Even the division?
Yeah.
I am going to take Baltimore to win that division. I don't have Pittsburgh anywhere near the top of it now.
And a little later, you'll hear from the quarterback of Cincinnati, who is making all kinds of different predictions, things like Super Bowl guarantees. That's on the way. Also coming up, the Thunder clapping back last night, and the injuries are piling